everybody, Dr. Diane, Lyme and chronic infection expert here. We're talking about Babesia, red blood cells, and what you need to know. So Babesia is an insect-borne parasite. We contract it through various types of insects, ticks being the most common. And it hijacks our red blood cells. So it can invade and destroy our red blood cells, which basically translates into the red blood cells not working as well. And so what do the red blood cells typically do? They provide oxygen to our cells. So because of this, the cells will become very unoxygenated, meaning that you could have shortness of breath. Exercise intolerance is a huge thing. We also see a lot of rage and emotional dysregulation with Babesia, which I believe is likely happening because the brain and the nervous system are not receiving the blood and the oxygen they need, which is very stressful to these parts of the body, right? So that can lead to difficulty in controlling one's emotions because of what's happening to the brain, to the nervous system. Another thing to understand about Babesia is that it burrows and it hides. So it's not necessarily the most easy thing to find on a lab test. You can find it with immune test looking at something called an IgG and an IgM. I also use PCR testing for Babesia. So it's nice to use a couple different mechanisms. One where you're looking at antibodies, which are things like IgGs and IgMs, and another which is the PCR, where you're really looking more at the DNA. So when you do kind of these types of testing where you're doing a check and balance immunological with the antibodies as well as the DNA of the bacteria, one thing that it often provides by using two different testing mechanisms is it can help make sure that there's less chances of a false negative. But you do want to consider other signs and symptoms such as rage, such as night sweats come with Babesia, shortness of breath we see with Babesia a lot, exercise intolerance, like I said, red dot. So you have all of a sudden these little red dots called petechiae that show up on your skin. Sometimes those can be a sign of Babesia. So if you suspect that you've been bitten by a tick or you have other tick-borne illnesses and you have any of these signs, it's definitely worth treating Babesia. Now, pharmaceutically, oftentimes we use malarial type of drugs for Babesia. Naturally, I see things like artemisia work very well. Sometimes essential oils work really well. Black walnut can work very well. Sometimes we combine it with other herbs such as cryptolepis. So there's a lot of different herbs out there. I see these herbs working very, very, very well for Babesia. It's very rare. I need somebody to go on a more strong antibiotic, but it's good to have options, right? And we remember that parasites burrow. Parasites come in life cycles, so it's good to do parasite protocols, take a break. Do parasite protocols, take a break, because we want to catch parasites when they're in their active life cycle. That's when they will die the best. And remember from watching other videos on this channel, if you go and you look at some of my videos on Lyme disease and biotoxin illness, right? So that's another video on this channel. And if you look at that, you'll see information on die-off and making sure you're not killing things too quickly. So you want to make sure that you're being very careful about not killing things too quickly, because of the killing process releases a lot of toxins that can be harmful for the body and can cause a lot of inflammation to the brain, to the nervous system, to the joints, and more. So please do subscribe to this channel. Ask me questions if this has been helpful. My team and I try our best to answer as many questions as we can. If you're interested in getting help more on a personal or a DIY level, information about working in my clinic and